overseas. We are live here with our live launch coverage of Starlink 17. Pull this down there. And we're just waiting for SpaceX to start up their stream here. They have activated their feed for tonight's launch. This is going to be another attempt of Starlink 17 that hopefully we will finally see lift off the pad here. And we'll be waiting for that to resume here. Tonight's launch is launching from Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Starlink 17 has been delayed many times. We got down quite late into the count earlier this week, and we've had another delay, but we are back at it again tonight. And we are just waiting for them to start their feed here. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're watching from. We're just getting everything set here for the middle of the night launch of Starlink 17, or at least launch attempt. Starlink 17 will be taking off hopefully from Launch Pad 39A. We have seen it many times start its count and get ready to lift off and then get scrubbed. Over and over, SpaceX making sure that they are always trying to be as safe as possible. They don't want to have any Falcon 9 failures during a liftoff, as that would cause a lot more issues for the future crewed missions coming up here in the not too distant future. But we're just waiting for them to go live here. Once they start, I'm going to leave it uninterrupted, but if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. Use the hashtag AskTPL, and I will answer those for you. If you were here earlier with us for our Starship coverage, it's been a long day. We didn't think we were going to be here tonight, but you know what? We were still up editing some other stuff, and you know, why not? We'll jump on and bring this coverage. And we know a lot of people are still up, and we're excited to do that for you. Let us know where you are watching from. Help share the broadcast out as well. We are live. I'm just waiting for SpaceX to start up their stream. Share the broadcast so people know that there is an attempt. Now, one thing that's interesting and a little bit different tonight is that there are actually 2 times that Starlink could launch. It's something new that there's just some first few articles coming out about that they are going to be doing some testing of the idea of what if rockets had multiple launch windows on the same day. So currently we're going towards a launch attempt at 3:24 Eastern, but there is another launch attempt possibility, and I believe it's 5:18 Eastern. So if something was to happen and we were going to have a scrub this evening or a partial abort and delay, there is the opportunity they could recycle and go for a second attempt within just a couple of hours rather than automatically waiting 24 to 36 hours for the next window. It could mean that it would be launching at a different angle or something as well, so they're working on what that is all like. Good morning from the UK, Southern California, New Zealand. Hello, everyone. Is this a West? No, this is an East Coast launch. We're going to be launching from Kennedy Space Center here tonight. And we're just waiting for some updates on that just starting up here. They always go live a couple minutes early. So that's what we're currently watching at this point. But shortly, they should start their commentary and be showing us actually some views of the pad as things are progressing towards the countdown. Now, should there be and here they come on, we're just going to mute this quickly here for a moment while they play some of their music. We don't have the rights to it. And should they have an abort or not, we might leave the stream live so you guys can watch, but we'll probably pull the plug as it'll be a couple hours in between attempts. But we'll wait and see what happens here tonight. Always a really nice intro, kind of just showing the family of what it looks like, and we'll go from there. Again,
Screen is a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 3:24 a.m. Eastern Time launch from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. My name is Andy Tran. I'm a production supervisor here at SpaceX, joining you once again from our headquarters in Hawthorne, California. You're watching a live webcast for our 20th Starlink mission and our 6th mission of 2021. As many of you know, Starlink is a constellation of low Earth orbit satellites designed to provide low latency, high bandwidth broadband across the globe. One of the best parts about working on the Starlink team is you get the opportunity to connect to communities that previously had limited or no access to the internet, and we'll talk more about that later on in the webcast. Tonight's mission also marks the second time that we'll be reusing our Falcon 9 first stage for an 8th time. Falcon 9 is designed for 10 or more flights with minimal refurbishment in between each flight, and this mission gets us one step closer to that goal. We're going to be attempting to recover the booster again on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is stationed off the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. There it is on screen right now. If we are successful, it will mark the 75th recovery of an orbital class rocket. And if you were with us during the first launch attempt this past Sunday, you know that we will not have first stage views during this flight, with the exception of the stage 1 landing view of the drone ship camera that you just saw. However, we will still be receiving telemetry throughout the mission, so we'll make sure to highlight any first stage events as they happen. With that, we are T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds till liftoff. All systems are green for an on-time liftoff at 3:24 a.m. Eastern Time.
Hi, I'm Yome Zhou, a Dragon propulsion engineer here at SpaceX. You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 on historic launch pad 39A. And while this pad has seen a lot of launches, including the first moon mission in 1969, tonight will be the first time that this particular booster is flying from pad 39A. All 7 of this booster's previous flights lifted off just down the road at Space Launch Complex 40. Now, Falcon 9 stands 70 meters tall, which is greater than the wingspan of a 747 aircraft, and there are 9 M1D engines on the first stage, which is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle there. The 9 Merlin engines on the first stage accelerate the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to space. About 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage separates from the rest of the rocket and begins making its way back to Earth to land on our recovery vessel, Of Course I Still Love You, as you see on your screen. Now, while Falcon 9 is named for the 9 engines on the first stage, there are actually 10 engines on the rocket. The Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC, is what powers the second stage of Falcon 9 to its targeted orbit. The MVAC can generate about 220,500 pounds of thrust at full power and can be restarted multiple times to place different payloads into different orbits. Tonight, we are flying 60 Starlink satellites, which are safely enclosed in the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which is that pointed structure you see at the very top of the rocket. This protects the payload from aerothermal loads, heating, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need the fairing, so we jettison it as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit. Today will be the first time that we are reusing one of our fairing halves for the 4th time. The other half will be flying for the 3rd time. Our recovery ships Go Searcher and Go Navigator are currently stationed in the Atlantic Ocean and will pull the fairing halves from the water upon landing. And with that, let's check in to see how the countdown is progressing.
We are just under 8.5 minutes until liftoff, and leading into tonight's launch, the chief engineer held a technical poll at the T-minus 1 hour mark, and then the launch director held a propellant load and launch go-no-go poll at the T-minus 38-minute mark. Since then, Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since the T-minus 35-minute mark. The vehicle uses 2 types of propellant, a fuel and an oxidizer. For fuel, we use a refined form of kerosene called RP1, and for its oxidizer, we use super chilled liquid oxygen. We also refer to it as LOX. Currently, RP1 is fully loaded on the second stage and nearly fully loaded on the first stage, and as for liquid oxygen, we're loading it right now on both stages. We also load helium to the vehicle, and that began before the webcast went live. We'll continue to top it off until about 1.5 minutes before launch. And we use this helium to maintain pressure in the tanks as propellant is consumed throughout the mission. In about 25 seconds, engine chill will begin. This is where we allow a small amount of super chilled liquid oxygen to flow into the Merlin engine's turbopumps prior to the full flow of LOX to avoid any thermal shocks to the system. Around the T-minus 5 minute and 13 second mark, checkouts of the second stage thrust vector control actuators will begin. This is also known as the engine wiggle test. We'll initiate these slight movements to make sure that the guidance hardware is a go for flight. The first stage engines also perform the same exact engine wiggle test, and this happens just seconds before ignition. The vehicle is healthy. We are currently working, no issues. The range is standing by and currently green for liftoff. The weather is also green for today's mission. All systems continue to be go for a liftoff at 3:24 a.m. Eastern Time.
Now, Starlink was designed to help meet the growing need for truly high-speed, low-latency broadband to underserved and unserved areas. One key advantage of Starlink is the ability to deploy the system quickly. The Starlink kit contains everything that a user needs to get connected to the internet, and once they have a kit in hand, users can be connected in a matter of minutes.
Stage 1 RP1
For many communities that historically have had poor or non-existent access to the internet, the impacts of the current pandemic have made day-to-day life even more challenging. One such community is the Wise County Public School District in rural Virginia. Now, when COVID forced schools to close and resort to remote education, the community did not have the connectivity it needed to support distance learning for its students. Teachers and families in the area.
So they're going a little bit deeper into what they've been able to do here with Starlink through the pandemic. Some really amazing things they've been able to do. We're coming up here on Strong Back Retract, which is going to be that pole you see on the right side of Starlink now. That'll slowly separate away, just giving enough room for the rocket to take off. Good morning to everyone. Welcome here to the launch pad. My name's Zach. And here at the launch pad, we try to cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space. And thank you for joining us for our live Starlink-17 launch coverage. I think this is about our 8th attempt to cover this launch over the last many weeks. Hopefully, things are looking good. They say green for the range, green for the weather. It's all down to if the booster wants to go this time, which is what scrubbed it last time. So we're listening in, and we'll bring you the uninterrupted live sounds of launch here in just a couple minutes as we see them take down those final minutes with strong back deployment or retracting here in a few minutes. If you were with us earlier today for our Starship coverage, thanks for coming back. It's been a long day for all of us here over on the North American side, but we were still up editing, so we thought we would bring this here to you. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat with the hashtag AskTLP. Try to answer those for you, but as we have 4 minutes, 20 seconds left, a little bit more about today's mission. So today is the 17th part of the constellation for Starlink. These Starlink satellites will be going into what is being called the first shell out of about 5 or 6 shells that Starlink will eventually have. Tonight, 60 satellites will be joining over, I believe it's over 1,100 satellites that are currently in orbit at this point. There are 2 sets of 60 that are still making their way into their final positioning from over the last few weeks, but we're starting to see a Starlink mission about every 2 weeks or so at this point, if not more quickly. Of course, I Still Love You, the autonomous drone ship, is 633 kilometers downrange and has the support of Go Quest and the tugboat Hawk, as well as Go Navigator and Go Searcher are out going to recover the fairings, but they are going to be recovering them from the water, not from a descent via parachute, and those are 707 kilometers downrange. Few of the highlights: this is only the second time SpaceX will be attempting to launch a booster for the 8th time for it. So that's one thing why they're making sure that they make sure that everything is right, as this is going to set that next precedent. We did see with Starlink 19, I think it was last week, that we had a failure during the recovery, but the launch was successful. And that's why we're not seeing any delays in using Falcon 9 rockets, because the rocket worked. It was just in the recovery for it. But we don't want to see any issues during the actual launch itself, because that would cause some much longer delays for crewed missions. And there are a lot of those coming up later this year. If you are new here, welcome. Make sure that you have liked us on Facebook. Subscribe on our YouTube channel. I'll drop the link here in just a moment. So you can join us if you're watching over on Facebook. Feel free to come join us over on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. A bunch of new people subscribed today with Starship, and we are so grateful that you're here. All of our content comes out on YouTube. For it, only some of our stuff comes out over on Facebook, and that's generally our live launch coverage. But we do our weekly updates, special events. We're working on some education videos, taking deep dive into new aerospace companies and companies that we know and love like SpaceX and Rocket Lab. So lots of stuff coming down the pipeline. We're thrilled that you're here. We are 1 minute, 50 seconds away from the attempt of the launch of Starlink-17, and I'm going to pull up SpaceX's audio here, and we're going to just listen
and
in.
There is that call out. You can start to hear some hissing and notice some white clouds around Falcon 9. That is normal for us at this stage in the countdown. We are venting liquid oxygen through the transport erector lines, and we'll continue to do so all the way down until T0.
Falcon 9's in startup.
We are in startup. Both stages are now beginning to pressurize for launch. In a few seconds here, we should hear the launch director give the final go for launch.
Falcon 9, Starlink, LD's go for launch.
And there's the final go for launch. Let's listen in to terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes our stack of Starlink satellites into orbit.
T-minus 30 seconds.
So here we go. Falcon 9, go Falcon 9, go Starlink. It's like the 10th attempt, and we wish it luck and a safe flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
So one thing that is different tonight is there aren't
T-plus 40 seconds into flight. It is dark, but we can definitely hear Falcon 9. We have successfully lifted off from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, carrying our stack of Starlink satellites into orbit. Right now, we're currently throttling down the engines in preparation for max Q. That is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure, where we'll experience the largest structural load on the vehicle during ascent. So slowing the vehicle down helps during this period.
Max Q.
And there is the call out for max Q. We've just passed the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on Falcon 9. In about a minute, we have 3 events happening back to back. First up is main engine cutoff, also known as MECO. This is where all 9 Merlin engines on the first stage will shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. During stage separation, the first and second stage will separate from one another, with the first stage starting to make its way back to Earth for a landing attempt on our drone ship, while the second stage continues its journey with the third event, Second Engine Start 1, also known as SES-1. During Second Engine Start 1, this is where we'll light the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage and propel the second stage along with the Starlink satellites into orbit. The first event, MECO, should be happening in about 25 seconds. And there's an animation of where Falcon 9 is currently at, just heading east from the coast of Florida.
So a little bit different than what we normally see here. We are not having footage from the booster during the first stage. I think it sounded like we might get some views with the second stage, and then possibly with the landing burn as well for it. So yeah, we're seeing here.
Stage separation confirmed.
And we've got stage separation. So we'll now have some views of the second stage in orbit, which is really great. But I'm not too sure what's going on with the booster cameras. This is, I think, the first one I can recall that we have not had at least some sort of camera on the first stage. But a typical launch from SpaceX of just getting a Starlink satellite up, it has become pretty regular and normal. Nothing crazy exciting other than that one recovery miss on the last one. And there is fairing separation.
The fairing halves exposing the batch of Starlink satellites on top of the second stage. As a reminder, we will be attempting to recover the fairing halves today with our recovery ships Go Searcher and Go Navigator.
So we're going to keep an eye here as we'll have entry burn coming up in a couple minutes here, and then landing burn followed shortly after. We'll have the camera feed, I'm assuming from SpaceX, on the drone ship. So hopefully we see a successful landing here tonight of the Falcon 9, because then it can be recycled and go for a 9th launch attempt with the same booster. Falcon 9s were originally scheduled and kind of planned to be used for 10 before either being retired or needing major refurbishment. So we're getting close to that schedule. With Starlink-19 that had the failed recovery, SpaceX has determined that it was engine fatigue that caused the failure, and that's why it wasn't in control and just didn't have it was in control, but it didn't have enough throttle and control to make sure it stayed over the drone ship, and that's why it went into the ocean and was lost.
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
You can see in that video there that our second stage is looking good. Its nozzle is glowing from that burn that it's currently in. And again, our second stage is carrying our 60 Starlink satellites to LEO, or low Earth orbit. That's about 550 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. For reference, most satellites are actually in GEO, or geostationary orbit, which is over 1,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. And the reason that we have our Starlink satellites in this lower orbit is that it reduces the round-trip time that it takes for data to travel between the user and the satellite, reducing what is known as latency and improving performance in activities like video calls and online gaming. And again, you can't quite see the first stage, but it is coasting down, getting ready for the start of entry burn in about 40 seconds here. It is coasting using its 4 hypersonic grid fins and the occasional burst of nitrogen gas from its attitude control system. Again, if you're just joining us, we had a successful liftoff. Our first stage is returning, getting ready for its entry burn in 10 seconds here. And then our second stage is
safed.
Looking good with our Starlink satellites.
Stage 1, entry burn startup.
You heard the call out for stage 1 entry burn startup. Again, the entry burn will last about 20 seconds here.
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
We've had confirmation of a successful stage 1 entry burn. And if you've been following SpaceX news, this is actually the second landing that we're attempting in the past 12 hours.
Continue to follow nominal trajectories.
The first one being our Starship serial number 10, which successfully landed in South Texas just earlier this afternoon. And again,
then blew up 10
minutes. Is designed
and then blew up 10 minutes later.
10 or more times with minimal refurbishment.
We will always try to make sure we give you the facts. It did blow up 10 minutes later. Spoiler alert if you didn't know that. but it did technically land. It was on fire though, but it was a start. They put the fire out, but not enough because it reignited and then blew itself up. We haven't heard from SpaceX yet the official causes of the failure of Starship today. That'll probably be a few days before we hear anything, or maybe tomorrow once Elon's out on the pad. For it, they obviously get a lot more data than we get to see, but we're waiting to hear that. But they did, for the first time ever, successfully have a kickback maneuver out of belly flop, hover, bring it down slowly, and land. So
this will be about 20 seconds. Hopefully we'll get a
here we go for the landing burn.
Of course, I still love you. You can see it there on your left.
Yeah, we're getting good footage.
Stage
Oh,
one,
we're
landing
seeing
leg
the
deployed.
flame, which looks good. Is it on track? Oh, right down the middle. Oh, and we lost the camera. It froze. Oh, yeah. And we're back with the second stage. So they should cut over back to the drone ship here in just a moment.
TS is safed.
Looks like we've briefly lost the video. Hopefully we can get a confirmation here soon about whether or not the first stage has successfully landed. Meanwhile, second stage is still looking good.
And that was landing confirmed
We did
just
just have
there.
confirmation of our successful stage 1 landing. This will mark our 75th successful recovery of an orbital class rocket, the 8th recovery of this particular booster, and our second landing in the past 12 hours. Again, this is the second time that we've recovered a booster for the 8th time. And in just a few seconds here, you're going to hear the call out for, well, we just had a call out for SECO 1, in fact, for our second stage, and a confirmation for a good orbit. And now that stage 2 is going to coast in this orbit for the next 35 minutes or so. And while that happens, we'll take a look at this animation showcasing where we are in the coast phase, and we'll see you back here at T plus 45 minutes for a second stage relight.
So we're gonna pull this back up here for it, but that's it. Starlink has launched. It had a successful recovery. Finally, Starlink-17 is off the pad, and there's that shot. Oh, I don't think you could have been more centered. Look at that. Nailed it. And then the footage cuts out again, but that'll make its way back into the Cape here over the next day or so, and go from there. But at this point, it is going to be that longer break until we see the second engine burn, which is just very quick. And then we will also have another larger break until we see the actual deployment of Starlink. At this point, it has been a long night. We will leave this stream up so you can see what's going on and watch the live feed here. But I'm going to be heading off for the night. We're, up, not fully 24 hours, but we're definitely approaching about 20 hours since we are getting ready for the Starship launch attempt today. So I'm going to head off for tonight. Thank you for joining us here on the launch pad. The feed will stay up until Starlink has had deployment in about an hour. And we just thank you for joining us. If you haven't yet, subscribe to us over on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And get plugged in over on our Discord if you want access to some behind the scenes. Hear from people in our Discord, which is what's in my ear right now. We're hoping to maybe have some pictures from Kennedy tonight, from the Kennedy area, but just a little too cloudy and a little bit too much moisture in the air. Didn't really see much from where we had our team tonight. So that is all from us here at the launch pad. Stay well, stay safe, and we will see you in the near future.
Expected loss of signal, Bermuda. Suspected loss of signal to Finland. Acquisition of signal Goonhilly. Detected loss of signal, Goon Heli. Acquisition of signal reef.
Welcome back to the webcast for Starlink Mission 20. If you're just joining us, we had successful liftoff at 3:24 a.m. Eastern from Pad 39A in Florida. We had successful stage separation and recovered our first stage for the 8th time on our drone ship, Of Course, I Still Love You. We're now finishing up the first coast phase and waiting on the relight of our second stage or second engine start 2. It's going to be a very short 1-second burn of our MVAC engine there on screen. And that's going to be happening in about 10 seconds. And this here is an animation of where we're at, where the second stage is at around the globe. And hopefully we can get footage of the second stage back for that 1-second relight. And just like that, successful startup and shutdown. And now we're waiting for confirmation of a good orbit for the second stage. I don't hear the callouts, but I am hearing from the teams that we do indeed have a good orbit. We have another 20-minute coast phase before we deploy our batch of Starlink satellites into orbit. During this time, the spacecraft will start to spin along its central axis, giving these Starlink satellites the momentum they need to space themselves out over time after they deploy. And while this happens, sit back and enjoy the space jams. We'll see you back here at T+1 hour and 4 minutes.
Expected loss of signal, Diego Garcia.
Good deploy orbit insertion.
Welcome back again to our live webcast for SpaceX's 20th Starlink mission. We are close to the end of today's mission, and after an on-time liftoff from Florida at 3:24 a.m., Falcon 9 followed a nominal trajectory. We landed our first stage booster for the 8th time on our drone ship. We also had 2 successful ignitions and shutdowns of the second stage. We're now coming up on deployment of our Starlink satellites. There you can see them on screen right now. That should be coming up in about 20 seconds. Each of these Starlink satellites are approximately 260 kilograms, and they feature a compact design to try to minimize volume. And during the coast phase, and here comes the Starlink satellites releasing from the second stage. Very, very cool. Shortly, they will deploy their solar arrays, and over the next few days and weeks, they will distance themselves from each other and use their onboard ion thrusters to make their way to their operational orbit at 550 kilometers above the Earth's surface.
And now that brings our webcast to a close. Thank you to the Range and the Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's mission. If you're interested in being part of our beta program, head over to starlink.com and sign up. Again, thanks for joining us. It's been an exciting day here, and we'll see you next time.